Hello and welcome back to the Movie Soap channel. Today, I would like to take a quick look at the Batman movie from 2022 starring Robert Pattinson. A new, somewhat refreshing and somewhat promising take on the iconic character. As always, I will start with a spoiler-free summary. This movie is long, 2 hours and 56 minutes long to be precise. I don't mind long movies when there is so much to show that the duration is justified, but I'm afraid this is not entirely the case here. This is also a very gritty take on Batman, with lots of focus on his traits and aspects neglected by other adaptations, which the lore fans will enjoy most certainly. The visuals are, well, if you played the Arkham games, this is pretty much it. They are stunning and very atmospheric. Despite drawing a lot from the lore, the movie, however, shies away from the sci-fi material, which saddens me greatly. Also, you might get tired a little from looking at Pattinson's sad face most of the time, but the brutality of Batman's actions will certainly compensate for it, and the villains are played brilliantly, the casting, acting and writing, everything's spot on for them. I mean, if you like Batman, you probably have already checked this movie out, or you are well on your way to do so, and you don't need a recommendation. But if you're new to the character and or debating whether to check this movie out, well, this certainly is not a family watch, and not an easy action watch with your better half. But if you want some gothic self-introspection, mixed with brutal action and evil mastermind plotting, you will enjoy this movie greatly. Now on with the spoiler part of the review. First, a few quick-fire things that I just want to get off my chest. Nirvana soundtrack, grunge Batman, very fatalistic. When you hear something in a way for the first time, it sets the tone well, but instead of repeating the same song later in the movie, I would have preferred to hear something like Alice in Chains, Heaven Beside You, or Brother, or Sludge Factory. There are many great fatalistic songs from the golden age of grunge. Pattinson/Bruce is a small dude. They show he's scarred back several times, but the Batman walks loud and heavy and is very physical. And the more movie progressed, the more this discrepancy messed with me. Bruce is driven, but is he fighting for his family or for his city? The motivation is not very clear, and it does not get clearer as the movie progresses. If Batman is such a good detective, why is he so easily manipulated? The he said, she said part of the movie is ridiculous. He and Gordon run from one informer to another like a pair of silly teenagers on a quest hunt. Introspection is nice. We see a lot into the inside world of this version of Batman, but while this is perceived as self-search early in the movie, very soon it turns into self-pity and the overall feeling that Bruce Wayne is kind of a sissy while Batman is a messed up brutal dude. Let's dive into things in a more organized manner now. First, the good. This Batman is vengeance. He is dark, he is gritty, the city is very gothic, dark and neon. The style is very video game-like, I mean Batman Arkham series of course. This suits the Batman story very well. The fighting is punchy, heavy and with good tempo. This Batman is much more grounded. He does not seem to lean heavily into his wealth, or he does so only to get materials and knowledge while preferring to craft his own gadgets, doing the dirty work if you will. This Batman also seems to have a good detective sense. He infiltrates, he blends in, investigates, he trained his mind to be good at this. The car is extremely cool, the sound was truly menacing. The Riddler, a fabulous take on the character, oppressed psychopath with the goal to take down the entire city, played extremely well by the actor. The voice acting especially touched me. I think this might be as good, if not better, than Tom Hardy's voice acting for Bane. This Riddler is sort of understandingly crazy, a genius evil mastermind. The Penguin. Not an awful lot of screen time, but just enough to introduce the character and leave us wanting more, much more. Colin Farrell's transformation is spectacular, and I'm looking forward to seeing him shine as the notorious supervillain in this dark setting. Now on to the bad. This movie certainly does not have enough material to be 3 hours long. I appreciate the freedom of letting the director make the movie as long as they want, but At this stage, you start to think if this is them just getting lazy. There are so many intermissions filled with meaningful silences and very lazy dialogues. After the first 1.5 hours, I was starting to get annoyed, as this movie assumes the viewer is a complete. Every single plot twist, every single action or decision is explained and depicted in autistic detail. I understand when a movie really needs a 3-hour runtime to describe an extremely long and complicated story, but this is not it. Batman has very little in terms of the character development. Introspection takes like 50% of the screen time, few obvious developments take like 40% the show, and there is about 10% of some sort of juicy action. I would say the movie could have been like 1 hour 50 and that would have been bang on. Batman is depicted physical, there is huge emphasis on the fights, and his entire tactics is to face the evil and the crime. But there is a huge difference between Bruce Wayne, a skinny dude with emo haircut, and Batman, a heavy, tall, brutal, extremely strong individual, and it is not the tech making him such. I think the creators should have done at least one of these three things. Made Pattinson get huge, come up with an excuse for Batman to be so much bigger than Bruce Wayne, tech, drugs, whatever, or change Batman's tactics to lean heavy into stealth and gadget usage with minimal physical confrontation. By the way, we see towards the end of the movie Bruce using some sort of a drug to save Catwoman. Why not leaning into that heavily the entire movie, like the Bane drugs from the 90s movie? Pumping that green shit into himself every time he puts the cape on? That would have been fabulous. The investigative aspect of Batman is very badly executed eventually. In the beginning, we see him shine and even be allowed onto a crime scene. He notices missed evidence, thinks fast, uses his tech to follow up on leads, and it's as if all his investigative thinking goes down the drain and emotions take over, while his motivations become more and more convoluted. Is he a vigilante because he wants to clean up the city, or does he want to create a new all-powerful persona of Batman? Or does he want to keep his family's name alive and clean? It's like the writers wanted to have all the options open, but to me it only spoiled the movie and made it too heavy psychologically for its own good. This movie should have stopped the plotline development at the first hint of Bruce's family unknown dark past. And when trying to unravel it, the Falcone thing would have taken place. Also, they're leaning into supernatural. The visual style suggests this movie wants to go all in, explore all kinds of things, both technological and biological. I even got a little excited to see some 90s-esque creepy when Batman hit the ground too hard for a human being to survive for the first time. But no, he just brushed it off. I dearly wish this movie was braver and leaned into classic creepy Batman sci-fi stuff to supplement the stunning visuals, but alas. To round things up, it is hard for me to fully summarize this new take on Batman and compare him against some other takes, because it seems that this Batman has not been figured out or realized by its puppet masters just yet. But if I'm to be pressed hard to compare, I would say the following. Batman Forever by Val Kilmer, much goofier and also more fantasy-like. DC's Affleck Batman, it's hard to compare as there's been no standalone development of that character, but overall, that Batman is the most over-the-top Iron Man-like interpretation. Far from reality as it can be, but that Batman was manlier, I guess. The Dark Knight by Bale, ultra-realistic Batman, extremely heavy usage of gadgets, the greater good idea, no fantasy at all, and self-sacrifice. And of course Keaton's Batman from 1989 and 1992 movies. That Batman is amazing visually and did not shy away from the sci-fi aspect of the Batman lore. What I hope to see happen to this latest take on Batman, he becomes more driven like the Dark Knight. He starts to grow up and man up like DC's Ben Affleck Batman. And he gets into sci-fi in 1989 and 1992 movies. Right now, there is a collection of visions and ideas. I don't see them coming into one coherent take on this iconic character just yet. There are some things I liked and enjoyed a lot, and there are also things I hope to see gone by the second movie. I hope the creators will take the good from previous takes on the character and finally give us a solid Batman franchise that goes deep and heavy and can run for a while. Overall, this movie is a shining beacon in the dark tunnel that is the Batman ekranizations, and I hope this turns out to be an actual beautiful pasture out of the tunnel and not a flashlight used by a creepy stranger to simply lure us in. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, goodbye.